Happy Monday, everyone. Time for another live commentary. For today, we're taking a look at the round of 32 bout from the Shanghai Grand Prix, featuring on the left, Nicole Ross, and on the right, Fanny Kreiss. Let's do this. 3, 2, 1, play. Okay, so Nicole Ross is a member of the U.S. women's foil team. She has been for quite some time now. I'd probably describe her style as the marchiest of the U.S. women's foilists, if that makes sense. Fanny Kreiss is pretty much the only top-level Hungarian women's foil fencer to reach this level of international competition. I would... I mean, the standout thing about Fanny's fencing... I'll call her Kreiss, though. Also, laugh all you want about her name. I'm trying to be professional. Her biggest strong suit, I would say, is her small advances when she marches. We'll see, hopefully, some of that during this bout. Anyway, here we go. Short lunge there from Ross. Longer lunge there by Kreiss. Just trading attacks back and forth. Bit of acceleration. Holds it up, though. Doesn't want to commit too hard at this point. Kreiss unable to find the target, though. Again, these long probing lunges by Ross are pretty standard for her. Here we go again. Kreiss does... She really likes to do this little dance back and forth. Accelerates quite a bit. Doesn't want to finish that as an attack, though. More bouncing. Ooh, very nice. Right as Ross is thinking about starting, Kreiss comes in with a very long lunge. She's also got a deceptively long reach. Her footwork tends to be a little bit on like the floaty side, if that makes sense. You can kind of see her stance right here. But she can turn that into a very long lunge that kind of oozes forward in a very deceptive way. It doesn't look like the reach is going to be as long as it is by the end of it. Again, another start here. Ross with the pointed line setup. Not sure what she's looking for with that. Again, gets it up, though. Long lunge by Ross. But misses, I guess. Referee says this attack no. And Kreiss, again, another touch. Kreiss goes backward off the line. That's interesting. She just gives up the march for free to Nicole, who is a very good marcher. Takes the blade and starts forward, though. Ross gives her plenty of ground. But she turns around and starts. Again, acceleration doesn't turn it into a lunge, though. I get the feeling we'll see a lot of that. Acceleration into nothing, just to try and draw a reaction from the opponent. Sorry if there's some sound bleeding. It is raining pretty heavily outside. Hope you can't hear that too much. Hopefully the noise reduction will take care of that in post. Ross continues to march. This is pretty much classic her. She does that type of attack a lot. Tends to keep her blade on the inside more often than most fencers would. Kind of like that. Kreiss turns it around, though. Can't find anything. Again, the distance is staying pretty wide and non-committal at this point. Ross tries something, but Kreiss takes the blade. Acceleration. Okay, it's just going to be this back and forth game forever, I guess. Until one person makes a distance mistake and gets hit. Kreiss accelerates. Nicole thinks about counterattacking from pretty far distance. That didn't feel quite right for the counterattack, and in any case, Kreiss did just get an off target. Maybe a little bit ambitious. Kreiss goes fast, but never like so fast that you'd think about counterattacking. And in fact, there Ross goes a bit too fast, and Kreiss slips in with a counterattack. So it does look like a competition of who can start the slowest. And who can commit the least. Very epee-ish in nature. Again, a little bouncing. No one really attacking at the moment. Kreiss starts. And gives it up. Ross starts. And accelerates a little bit, but gives it up. And Kreiss starts. And gives it up. And Ross accelerates a little bit, but Kreiss takes the blade. Again, nothing too committal just yet. Just a nice, casual dance. Back and forth. Ross starts forward a little more aggressively this time. But again, that you can tell these lunges are not really full commitments to hit. That was by Kreiss, but unfortunately, another off target. Distance was still pretty wide. One drawback if you keep the distance super wide like this is it's very hard to be opportunistic like that and have a reasonable chance of hitting. And with 5 seconds left, I think we'll probably see both fencers back off. Or maybe not. Now they do. Okay, so very low scoring first period. Only 3-0, but very strong showing for Kreiss. based on the touches she got. I mean, it was a long lunge and it was a counterattack, the last two. So at this point, I think this dancing situation is still very neutral. There's not that many chances for either fencer to hit, of course. But when it has happened, Kreiss has had the advantage. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Ross start to put on a bit more pressure with her march and be a little bit more sincere about it. Kind of take away Kreiss's room to maneuver at her end of the strip, maybe. That seems like a reasonable course of action if you're Ross in this case. Kreiss, honestly, can just sit back, do what she's doing, and if Ross wants to keep playing this game, Kreiss is probably going to be just as happy to win 3-0 as 15-0, so she could do this all day if she wants to. Blade work-wise, like, there's not really much you can read into, honestly, because there have been just so few blade interactions between them. And footwork-wise, they both just want to stay wide and only finish the attack sincerely when they really are sure they're going to hit. But with the distance being so wide, that's not going to happen very often. So here we go again. Again, I would say Ross would probably want to be a bit more active now, and it certainly seems like she's doing that. She's moving a bit more. Smaller steps, too. Quite an acceleration. Okay, yeah, she's definitely trying to hit a bit more this time. That march from Kreiss seems to be still pretty much the same thing as before. She's not too worried about hitting with it. Ross takes it over the... Oh, again, though, catches Ross right as she's starting. She's got a great sense of timing and a deceptively long reach, as I said before. Ross has got to be very careful. One possibility is to actually go faster in that situation, because there's a better chance of getting two lights, and with Ross starting first, that would be her attack, and Kreiss's counterattack. But then if you rush, you run the risk of being counterattacked and closed out. Ooh, great distance control by Ross. Finds the parry post, but it's off target. Huge overcommitment there by Kreiss, honestly. That was a little bit surprising. Again, just a little marching back and forth. Though, look at Ross. She is keeping the distance a little bit closer and pushing a bit more. Like before, she would have been maybe a step farther away than that. Okay, keeps pushing. Kreiss again, tiny hops back. Wants to be very precise with her distance control. There really is just a matter of inches between hitting with the parry post or not in this case. So those small steps by Kreiss are great. They give her a lot of chances to be stable on the ground with both feet and able to make that parry post. Like that! But Ross was able to get away after her attack fell short. And Ross takes the blade. She's probably going to start again. Ooh, careful. Careful. Okay, that was great. Two little accelerations and then a slower finish at the end. So, kind of like fast, fast, slow, if you break it down. Very, very nice. That took quite a bit of work, though, to just get one touch. And Kreiss still is up by 3. Very low-scoring bout so far. Really, Ross needs to just stay active and look for touches like that. That tempo change is probably going to seal it. Ooh, very nice deep parry forward by Kreiss. Ross is able to slip an off-target through, but Kreiss is really holding onto the blade there. It's kind of hard to land. Oh, feint with a foreflick and then switching to the outside line, but Kreiss somehow, I guess, predicted that or was able to react ridiculously fast. And again, found an off-target. But again, I think actions like that, like very compound actions for Ross, are going to be the name of the game. That fast, fast, slow thing was great. That, I guess, long indirect attack was great. Although Kreiss was I have no idea how Kreiss was able to stay alive from that, honestly. That was, for Ross, that is a devastating attack. Let's see this again. And Kreiss pushes this time, a little bit faster than before. Stops though, and Ross turns it around. Bounce, bounce forward. Turns into a lunge, but doesn't commit fully, as before. Ooh, parried post from the left, yep. Very good call by the ref. Again, Kreiss was overcommitting there just a little bit. It is a potential point of weakness. Ross has been looking for that same type of action, but hasn't been able to convert it to a touch just yet. But I think that will be pretty reliable for her going forward. She keeps pushing. Kreiss keeps dancing in and out. Kreiss finishes long. Oh, that pre-remise kind of gives Ross a whack in the face. That's probably going to be a card, right? Yeah, I can't imagine why not. The P was on the back of the card, so I assume that was I assume that was intentional. It was not a P card. Don't even get me started on that rule. Oh. False start there by Kreiss. No worries. Especially on the first offense, that's not really worth carding. Alright, Ross keeps on marching. Kreiss turns around, going really fast this time. Maybe vulnerable to a counterattack if Ross wants to stay a little bit closer. Ross probing. Kreiss turns it around, starts marching, and there's the counterattack. Actually, Kreiss was going way slower on that one than the previous one. But Ross just had really good distance timing there. And Kreiss's tip was nowhere near the target, so definitely a good choice to counter. It's not all about the speed. Sometimes it's about the relative blade positioning as well. Long lunge by Kreiss. Again, feels like an overcommitment. Ross was in perfect parry to post distance. That was more of a feint by Kreiss. Ross starts marching again. Again, that's just a false finish. Ross takes it over. Oh, interesting. Ross's first attack fell short. Kreiss was thinking about starting, not committing too much. Ross slips in with the remise when she's still thinking about it. I actually like that quite a lot, because Kreiss is being pretty timid at the start of her attack. She's kind of vulnerable to that sort of thing. Very nice tactical move there by Ross. And has almost equalized the score. Ross marches again. That's got to be Ross's. Her arm is back, but she was starting forward way, way before Kreiss did. And with that, it's 4-4. Honestly, this felt more like mistakes by Kreiss. She was committing to a lot of touches like that she really didn't have to at this stage. And now we see more bouncing back and forth, and the time runs out. Only 4-4 after 2 periods of fencing, but for all the kind of la-di-da back and forth that I've been talking about, there is actually quite a lot of information being exchanged in those, in all those actions. And in this case, it seems like Kreiss was just getting a bit impatient. She was committing to a lot of really long lunges that were kind of good distance for Ross. So, this reset is going to be good for her, though, because Ross did have quite a bit of momentum towards the end. And as you could see at the end as well, Ross was starting to amp things up and go a little bit faster. I think Kreiss would still be pretty well suited to keeping the bout slow, as long as she's able to stay patient while doing so and not overcommit situations like that. Honestly, in slow situations, in slow bouts like this and very kind of light probing styles, that can be a lot more mental pressure than just the hard and fast, like action-packed back and forth stuff. Just because one mistake and you're pretty much screwed. But here we go again. Let's see if anything's going to change. We have a lot of score room to play with, so potential for a lot of very quick mistakes to be made in succession. On the other hand, if you don't want to sacrifice even one touch of lead, then you can make use of all the remaining 3 minutes. It certainly seems like that. Distance is pretty wide still. Kreiss pushing a little bit more, though. That footwork... Oh, yeah. Okay, Nicole's back in it. So she's going to go hard and fast now. That footwork by her, this really short bounces, she's in the zone. Yep. Okay. Kreiss makes another long finish, but Ross gets away from it. Oh, wow. I could see that one coming. Ross with a counter time. Just that quick bounce, bounce, bounce forward. Kreiss is thinking about counterattacking, but no. Ross takes the blade in 4. 2 lights, but easy touch for Ross. And now this is pretty dangerous for Kreiss. She's got to accelerate too. Wow! Finds a way around Kreiss's sweeping preen. Very good blade work decision in close. Very quick hand. I think Ross is just going to run away with this bout now, honestly. Unless Kreiss can find some way to change. I don't know if... honestly, this style of fencing really benefits Ross, and if Kreiss tries to mirror her, it's probably going to go not so well for her. I think slower tempo is going to be more her speed. Again, slow acceleration. Oh, though, misses, and Ross gets another twisty counterattack. Actually, I'm not sure if that was another or if that was her first one. But another counterattack. This one was twisty. Ross keeps marching. Kreiss accelerates. Okay. Ross takes it over. No, not quite. Kreiss tries to lunge again. Ross can't find a way through. And that's Kreiss's. Okay. Still, though, you can see, even though she's kind of getting more amped up as well, she's still finishing pretty slowly. That wasn't her full length of lunge either. She had a maybe like 5 or 6 inches of more reach left in her if she wanted. But she didn't need it, because Ross was just right there. Okay. So I think Kreiss can handle this. Maybe I was wrong about Ross just running away with the bout at this point. I think Kreiss can handle this, but it's going to be tough. Ross can definitely just keep forcing a fast tempo in actions, especially if she's willing, if Kreiss is willing to give up the right of way so often. Ross can just trample her at that point. Like that. Oh! Kreiss takes the blade, though. Right now, Kreiss's blade work is the main thing that's saving her from these. Ah, though, that one falls short. Goes off target. So yeah, it seems that Kreiss is turning to rely on her hand instead of her feet to save her in the situations where Ross can force the distance close. Ooh, beautiful! Pretty much right off the line, Kreiss just makes a long lunge and hits. Ross was not ready for that one. Fencing at a fast tempo is one thing, but if you fence so fast you're not ready to react if your opponent does something sneaky, that's another matter entirely. And Ross still can't find a way through with her blade. To be fair, she has mostly been staying in Kreiss's foreline. She might try and go indirect again, like she did a couple times earlier. I don't know. It's a case of, can Ross fence fast enough to be like in her zone and out of Kreiss's, but not so fast that she just runs into Kreiss's parry all the time. Oh, Jesus! That long lunge by Kreiss. That did look like a bit of an overcommitment by her, but Ross wasn't set to parry her post. So, I guess the risk paid off. And now the bout's suddenly really close again. This is getting really tight. Ross with the march. Finishes fast, but goes past! Oh, that's all on her. Normally her blade work is up to hitting at that speed, but I don't know what's up with her right now. Aside from the opposite of down with her. Heyo. Okay. Another lunge, and Kreiss takes the blade and just lunges back! Again, her reach is deceptively long there. It makes sense that Nicole would maybe try and stay in distance and maybe look for another remise there. But Kreiss can just hit. And now it's 8-8. Kreiss keeps marching. Those nice, slow and very small footwork on her march. It's great for setting up counter time as well, although she hasn't really needed it. And gets the yellow guard for some reason? I wasn't really paying attention to what happened there. Did she cover target? I didn't see. I was just watching her feet. Oh, okay. Very sharp acceleration there by Ross, but Kreiss's blade is a little bit faster than Ross's entire body. So, able to defend herself. Again, very sharp by Ross. That time gets a remise running away as Kreiss tries to follow her. Okay, 9-8. So again, looks like overcommitment by Kreiss is going to be her biggest weakness at this point. Her blade work and the sheer speed of it. Well, she didn't even need it there. Ross just tried another twisty counterattack from, felt like a bit far away and a bit late in the action. I don't know if that was pre-planned or if that was just a dirt moment from her. Ooh, that's got to be on the left. Yep. Kreiss asked for a video review, but oh, she really wants that one. Yeah, very aggressive with the hand waving, but I feel like that one goes to Nicole. Felt like a bit of hesitation on Kreiss's part, and can't really quantify it, but my fencer's instinct leans left on that pretty hard. But we'll see if the referee agrees. With slow motion, it might look different, so who knows? It's still to the left. Okay, makes perfect sense. 10-9. So, more and more pressure on Kreiss. The higher the score gets, even with a 1-point difference, pressure increases. Kreiss keeps marching. Very small steps. Not a full commitment on the finish. Ross pulling her arm right back. Decides not to commit at that distance, though. Ooh, how does that even work? I guess Kreiss just stayed in the closed line, and so Ross, like, accidentally parried 4 after she hit? Huh. Maybe a bit sloppy there from Kreiss, honestly. And equally so from Nicole. Kreiss pushes. Ross starts, though. Again, that probing lunge on the inside line. Kreiss wants to take the blade there. Oh, great distance by Ross. Again, that overcommitment by Kreiss is killing her. Like, Ross clearly wants the parry post there. I don't know, like, if it's possible for Kreiss to lunge enough that she can draw that from Ross, but not so far that she's, like, hitting herself with it. Off target by Ross. This bout is getting super intense, and now it's Kreiss who's seems kind of unable to keep up without making more mistakes than Ross is at this point. I think that's probably why Ross is trying to keep the bout at this speed, even if she's also getting a little sloppy with it. She can kind of out-scrap Kreiss. Oh, jeez! Great position for Ross, but Kreiss finds a sneaky off target on the way in and then closes out. Okay, 3 touches in 40 seconds is definitely doable, but the speed you need to go to get there might not be for Kreiss. We'll see. I have no idea what that was. Hope the referee will say so. He's probably looking at the video of his own accord. I would just say simultaneous, not because it definitely was, but because I don't know. Let's see what the referee has to say about that. It looked like just jump in, stop, and then lunge from both. Although the timing did feel a little bit different. It wasn't like exactly a mirror of each other, but I'm not sure if it was enough to separate. Here comes the referee. Oh, to the right. That is huge. 2 touches in 38 seconds is a lot better than 3. Or 4, for that matter. Okay, Ross keeping the tempo fast. Bounce in, bounce out. Kreiss is pushing still pretty slowly, but definitely faster than she feels comfortable with. Long lunge. Ross gets away from it. Accelerates! Infighting, though. Oof. I kind of feel like at this point they're going so fast that like both of them are sacrificing technique, and Ross is banking on the fact that that'll benefit her slightly more than Kreiss, which I feel like is a safe assumption. But that still ends up in kind of these awkward blade situations in close where no one's hit. 2 lunges, but it's Kreiss's. Wow, 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 wow. That was, I think, very lucky for Kreiss. Actions off the line, I think, probably benefit... Well, actually, I don't know, because they're both missing a lot more than they'd like to. Okay, Kreiss on the march. Small steps again. Small steps. Goes a little faster, though. How do you call that one? Probably left, right? Probably left, correct? Yeah. Kreiss lingered in distance a little too long. Okay. Cross step forward! Hits! Was she passed? That is the question. If Kreiss was passed when the light turned on, then it's not going to be a touch. If she was not, then it will be. I kind of feel like that's going to be a touch, though. Oh, man. That is huge with only 12 seconds to go. That's a touch! 12-13 with 12 seconds. Massive pressure on Kreiss right now. Did she stop? Did she stop? Ross asking for a video review. The referee says that that Kreiss did not stop. Ross thinks that she did. It was kind of ambiguous for me. Also, I'm not a great referee. Let's not forget it. Oh, man. That would be huge to equalize, though. This might go to an overtime minute if that's the case. I can't imagine... Oh, although maybe. She has been fencing pretty fast so far. She might go for a touch in 9 seconds. But I doubt even Ross would go for something that gutsy. We'll see, though. First, this is predicated first on Kreiss getting this touch, which is assuming quite a lot. If she doesn't, then Kreiss just has to go for it. At this point, like, at the rate she's been going with these advances... Oh, it is a touch! 13-13! No way! Yeah, Ross maintains that she stopped, but referee did not see it that way. She definitely slowed down, but if it was enough of a stop to... clearly was not enough of a stop, that is, to make a difference. 13-13. Are they going to just back off? Looks like Ross is still in it. 6 seconds. 5. Ross is... I think this is just... yeah, that's just show butter. Ross was just trying to work to the end and see if Kreiss made a mistake and cracked under the pressure, maybe went for a long lunge there. But... no dice. We go to our 1 minute sudden death overtime. Ross with the priority. That is huge. That means that Kreiss has to push, and she hasn't seemed that comfortable pushing compared to Ross this bout, especially at the speeds that Ross has been giving her so far. So we shall see. Maybe Kreiss is like holding a back pocket flesh or something that we haven't seen yet. Who knows? Ross still keeping things active. Ooh! Finally lands that super long withheld lunge. I was going to say that the attacks we've seen from Ross haven't been like full power either, especially compared to Kreiss, but that was her full power, saving it for the very end, and well worth it to win 14-13. Jeez, that was Started off slow, and then it ramped up exponentially in terms of intensity by the very end there. That was an insane bout. And great demonstration. Honestly, Kreiss' strengths were pretty much highlighted there too. When it comes to that like slow, bouncy march thing going forward, she is insanely good at converting that into a touch, especially when she gets her opponent out of space. However, that kind of requires her to go so slowly that an opponent who's more comfortable at a faster tempo, like Ross, can kind of out-scrap her by forcing the tempo faster. And at that point, like, they're both clearly capable of fencing fast, but Ross is more comfortable doing that than Kreiss was. And I think that's why the bout really swung the way it did towards the end there. Other than that, I'd say they were pretty evenly matched. And, of course, the one-touch result in sudden death overtime certainly speaks to that. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Stay tuned until next time. And as always, stay sharp.